I'm going to go ahead and
Why?
why record? Yes, why? Why do that? So, Nailu, you're not sharing the slides right now, right? Want to make
No,
sure I
but
was,
I will. But let me give me a second so I can do that.
or if you want, I can share on my side, make it easier for you.
Oh,
So,
okay.
So
want me to,
so I have two questions. Omar, did you notice that we weren't on that list of countries?
Yep, that
Okay.
is true.
that's a
Not
problem.
nice.
I wear glasses, but I'm not blind. And Rick, uh, before we start, could you give us some, like 2 or 3 minutes of background? Like some
Yeah,
people came up to you and they asked you for some help?
absolutely. And that's actually on the first slide. So I'll share a little bit of the background of what we did. So I'm going to go ahead and share on this side here, Nailu.
Okay.
That way, everything is easier to manage over here. So yeah, just from a high level, guys, we are talking a lot about maybe a nonprofit organization that we're approaching to help out, and we're going to give you the story behind that. But Leon cannot make it today, so he had some other prior, but we've got Ray and myself that are going to cover this today. All right. Um, so just to give you a little bit of background here. So what was it? 2 years ago, Ray? I'm trying to remember the
Yeah,
date on this.
I think it was. I
Two
think it was
years
2019.
ago, we had a personal friend of mine who was the CIO of a nonprofit, and I'm not mentioning the name of the nonprofit just to give them um, just in case, right? So she reached out to me and told me, "Look, Rick, I've got several different teams that need to come together and work on a project." Okay, and I really want them to be launched properly. I really want them to work in a way that that kind of has that agile mindset of collaboration, of holding each other accountable, all the things that we've learned from using agile. Right? What can we do to try to launch this group? And she gave me some little inside scoop. These people don't like each other. In the past, they have conflicted, and it's actually been very difficult to work with them. So that was the start of providing a service to our first nonprofit organization. And just to let you know that it was very successful, right? And we're going to walk you through. So, one of the things we're going to do today is actually walk you through the agenda of what we did and get your feedback on it as well. Because, great news, we actually got them to want our services again, right? So she reached out to me again, and in August, we're going to be doing another launch of Teams for them. And this is going to be for their main website. So the cool thing about it is that we're giving back to the community. They're nonprofit, and they're actually a children's nonprofit, which is even more emotional. So it's really humbling that we have the opportunity to make an impact, not just in that organization, but in children's lives, right? So that's very humbling to know that we're going to be a part of that. So today's activity is really walking you through an agenda that we've done in the past so that we can prepare for that future agenda. Okay. Ray, did I miss anything?
No, no, that was it. That
All
was
right.
it. Nice.
Awesome. So, and we're gonna need your feedback, and we're gonna open up. We have a Jamboard as well, just in case there's too many people here, and I know it's hard to unmute yourself, and it'll be a little difficult for us to collaborate all at the same time. So we're probably gonna use the Jamboard as a collaborative mechanism. All right. If everybody's good with that, we will continue. All right. So moving forward to the next slide. Um, so just understand that we did receive an amazing recommendation from her. So this is what she said. Transformation Extras facilitated a 2-day planning session for our new book club. During the session, we were able to get to find a way forward that will result. I'm sorry, did I put that right? We were able to get to find a way forward. I don't know if I that will result in 2.3 million in cost avoidance over a 5-year period. We are grateful for their help, which leaves more money to book buyers. Okay, or book buy. So again, a positive note. Maybe some of the grammar might need to be fixed up a little bit, or maybe some of my reading might need to be fixed up a little bit. Um, Good, thank you. And I know we were going to hold back on the company name, but I guess we put it there. Go ahead. Let me quickly go to the next one.
Whoops.
Oops, I don't know what you're talking. Please keep in mind that this format is not perfect, but just understand um, that this is the kind of format that we used for a 2 day workshop. Okay, a 2 day workshop. And so overview, Ray, any quick review of these agenda that quickly,
Yeah, the only thing I would say at this point, for those people who are familiar with the SAFe scaled Scrum network framework, excuse me, the value stream canvas is where you'll be able to find more detail on visions, goals, objectives, high requirements, maybe some identified value. So if you're kind of wondering, like, where did they get that idea? Note that the two people who worked
wait a
with
minute, wait a
me,
minute, Ray, are you saying we stole this, or are we saying
no, no,
no, I'd
no,
rather say that
no.
we created this and we had an amazing, come on, Ray.
The two people who worked on this with me, who
Okay,
are well versed in SAFe, they had an idea.
all right,
An idea worked. What was it? 2.3 million in cost
yes,
avoidance over 5 years. So
yes,
bottom line is that's, if you don't know what those things are and you go into the SAFe framework and you look up, like I said, value stream canvas, I think is the name of
yeah.
you may find something that has those things in it, just FYI.
All right, thank you, Ray. So again, understand that we're going to walk you through our agenda, and your feedback is welcome. Your feedback is welcome. First of all, a quick note. How many of us have actually worked for a nonprofit organization? How do we get that quick, maybe raise of hands? I don't see too many hands, so how am I going to do that, Neilu? How am I going to know how many people have actually worked?
Andrea. Okay, we have two people who raised their hands. Andrea is the first one. Go ahead,
I
Andrea. Or
No, that's
no?
fine. That's fine. I'm
That's
just trying to
okay.
get. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to
Coach
get
Rick, I
to
already told you I did one, right?
you worked with a nonprofit. Yes, absolutely.
Remember,
Yes, yes. So my question to the group is, so some of you work with nonprofit. Can someone tell me what's different from a nonprofit and a profit organization? What's the big difference in working in that environment? Who could put that in the chat? I'm just curious. What was your experience of working with a nonprofit that was massively different? Ray, can you monitor the chat and tell me what's coming out there?
So
Just curious.
Andrea's saying volunteers versus paid employees, and
Yeah.
you just saying cost conscious and limited resources by Keithra.
You are limited on resources. You do have to work sometimes with a lot of volunteers. Anything else that someone can tell us related to nonprofit organization? Come on, give me some dirt. Give me some uncomfortable stuff.
Well, we also have from Florence, pilots versus impact, and from Shanika, solicitation resources. And Ujo said again, contributions from outside.
Oh, yes, you got to get sponsorship from outside. Sometimes the funding, right? Where you have to apply for a grant and then you get money and then you got to validate that you're doing the right things. Those are also, what else? Anything else from a nonprofit?
tax exemptions.
Tax exempted, that's pretty cool, right? You have a tax exemption.
I was
Uh,
hoping somebody said nothing.
Nothing? Wow, that would be interesting. That nonprofit and for profits, there is no real difference. That's pretty cool.
A major difference is what I wrote, but I think it was glossed over. Not profit is about impact. How much impact do you make? While commercial business is all about the profits, all about the Benjamins.
All about the Benjamins. Wow, that's pretty cool. Anyone else for nonprofit? How about the budget at the end of the year? I'm going to be very straightforward with you. there's sometimes these budgets, and I've worked for a lot of nonprofits. There's sometimes at the end of the year, and I hate to say this, guys, where you're saying, "Oh my God, we have a lot of money here. We have to spend it. If we don't spend it, we don't actually get that money back the following year." Has anybody faced that before, or is it just me?
I have.
Kenny, you saw that?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So pretty much every end of year, whatever in the budget, they would pretty much get rid of, burn, for lack of a better word. But yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a second.
Prior, usually at that time, the administrations would change sometimes. So whoever was the former leader would pretty much party the money out, burn it, whatever have you, just start off on a clean slate.
How many people have worked for a company when they got into the fourth quarter and they were responsible for a budget and they realized that they were going to have money left over? Somebody told you, hey, you need to make sure you use all that because next year we won't get that same amount. How many companies, right? So it doesn't make a difference that it's nonprofit
True.
or profit. But people do the same thing. If we're going to get the same budget that we got last year, we got to make sure we use all this one.
Yeah, that is a good point, Ray. That's why Ray
Right.
say he didn't feel there was any difference. He had a big zero. He's like, no, they're all the same. Good.
Yeah,
Thank
because
you, Ray.
because yes, granted, what Kenny said is absolutely correct, and I'm not gonna say it. But I've had budgets where I was told, hey, we need to make sure we use it. And the people who work at these, ¿Qué fue? Say it again.
No, I think she's talking. I
Oh.
think she's good.
And the second point I was going to make was, if Kenny and I worked in a nonprofit and we were salaried employees, I don't know if our life would be any different than if we worked in a company and we had salary and we were salaried as employees. Right? We'd still get up, get to work. We'd have to work with people, some nice, some not nice. We'd have to deal with some politics, no politics. So there would be a somewhat similarity in the experiences.
No. Okay. So thank you for providing that initial feedback. Just understand the nonprofit that we work with is not the case. They're awesome, and we're very supportive of them. And I've worked for many nonprofits in my life: Children's Psychiatric Center, Dade County Public Schools, at-risk programs. So I've actually in my career, Ray, and I've never maybe told you this before. Those has been the most amazing experience in my life. Like I've coached and I've coached teams to be successful, but there's nothing like coaching and helping kids, reach their full potential, right? That to me is very humbling. Sorry, go ahead, Ray.
No, I was going to say that parallels what some of the people said about purpose, about somebody else said something that was along those lines. And I would agree with that. Impact, that was the other.
All right, so let's keep going with our mission here. So again, like I told you before, our mission is to go through the agenda and get some of your feedback as well as we go through this, and correct us if we're wrong. All right, so this is the introductory. I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide just to kind of. So the first thing we did is housekeeping. So understand that the exercise is one that immediately, okay, let's do this. We had to meet with their groups several times to get this agenda moving forward. And a lot of the conversations was trying to do a lot of proactive work, right? So that we can make sure that when we go in there, we go in there with the biggest impact, right? So if you guys ever had to facilitate a 2-day workshop, you want everything to go smoothly. So this was the first step of it going smoothly. So Ray, what stands out to you in housekeeping ideas there?
Just the amount of effort that it takes. I don't know how many people here have facilitated even a 1-day, 8-hour session. And
Let's ask the question. So if you've done a 1-day full workshop and you were responsible for the full day facilitation, and I want to see the stress level in your face, just go ahead and put it in the chat. I'm just curious on what workshop you did that was a 1-day full workshop. What do we got there?
Nothing so far. An Agile online conference. Oh yeah, Godwin. Yeah, that's true.
A full day conference where you had to facilitate the whole conference. That's pretty cool. Who else?
He said it was 2 days.
Oh, 2 days?
Uh,
Okay.
Attended many workshops, but not responsible for the
Understood.
facilitation.
Understood. Behind the scenes, everything goes well, and you're like, wow, this is a nice 1 day workshop. But the work that's being done behind the scenes, it's crazy. And sometimes we're pivoting throughout the session and you don't even know about it, right? Because we have a plan going in, but then we have to adjust. And I think Ray's aware of that as well. Anybody else, Ray, that put in the chat?
No, that was it.
Okay, so let's take a look at what we did. So back to the housekeeping. So the first thing was room setup. So remember, we got to make sure that that room is nice. And now the safety thing was kind of weird, Ray. Why are safety thing? What in the world are you talking about when it comes to
there
safety?
were people who came from the outside in, who didn't know like where's the bathrooms, or in every building there's fire codes that you need to adhere to. So finding a person who would take the responsibility to be the fire lead in case the fire bells, whatever you call those, alarms went off, they could guide. What was it, Rick? About 25 people?
Yeah, 25.
Yeah. Of which a large percent, 80, 85% weren't even from that building. You about 85% of 25 people running like crazy people in case there was a fire alarm and nobody knew what to do?
Yeah, I can see it. All right, so again, make sure you take care of the logistics. Very key to know where everything is at. We had to deal with all the supplies. Well, how many stickies do we need? How many how many pens? All that stuff. And then we have to have backup pens just in case, right? We had to be prepared for that. All the wall charts. So we had to go a day before and set up all our charts so that when they came in, it was just a nice setup of this is what we're going to be doing, right? I think the whole retrospect was a nice starting point. You see where it says mood/retrospect? Ray, you want to share why we started with a retro? I know I said a little bit earlier.
The mood thing was, if you recall, Rick mentioned before that there was a little conflict with the people working together. So the idea was, let's try to get a feel for their mood coming in on day one. And you're going to see later where there was an exercise that Rick included. I think it was his idea, where he included to try to allow people to, what is it, unbag? What is it when you get home from a trip? What's the word?
You unpack.
Unpack. Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Let's give the team an opportunity to unpack some of this baggage, and we may learn something in the process, which we did.
Now, I've asked, and I know Andrea's in the last meeting that I had with her, she remembers this very clearly. As a coach, one of the first things that I want to establish is empathy. So one of the first things that I want to establish in any meeting that I have is empathy. So if I were to ask immediately, how are you feeling? And I get a vibe from that, that helps me understand where the group is, and it helps me set the stage to, okay, some people are tired, some people are not, and that way I can adjust my style depending on how they're feeling and maybe even address their concern. Has anybody ever done that? Immediately starting a meeting, ask the group, how are you feeling? And anybody can unmute themselves if they've done this. No one has done this.
I mean, that's usually how I start off my meetings.
Okay, so Greg's the only person that has done that. Everyone else.
I
No,
do. At work, we have Monday morning meetings, so definitely want to know what everyone's mood is like on starting the work week.
Awesome. So again, that's how we started to make sure that we understood. And the retrospect was also a great start to say, let's get this out in the open now. because we didn't want, remember how I told you earlier, there was two groups there that didn't get along. And I'm talking about maybe even close to physical fighting, right? So we wanted to cut it early. Let's learn what we were facing before, and let's make sure we want to move ahead and move forward. We didn't want that to simmer, and then later on the second day, be able to realize, whoa, they're not even talking to each other. They're not going to work in that fashion. We wanted to get it early. So that's why we did the retrospect. Working agreements, again, Ray, you want to say anything about working agreements?
Because there was people who, as Rick mentioned, had difficulty working with each other. We just wanted to establish an environment where people felt safe, where they could contribute, where they can voice opinions, even if everybody didn't agree with them. So we created a working agreement that included some of those things, no attacking people, respect everyone's opinion, one conversation at a time. This way, two people wouldn't be yelling at each other. One conversation at a time. Some of the working agreements attack the problem, not the person. Some of the ones you may be familiar with from the working agreements you create for your teams.
Awesome. And then the stickies I love. So the one that I love the most is Elmo. And again, imagine having, so what I did was I had them draw an Elmo just to make it entertaining. Get your sticky, guys, and everyone draw an Elmo. And then they got to show it to their group. That way, at least it kind of broke the ice a little bit. All right. Some people drew better Elmos than others, but it is a nice way of kind of relaxing the group. Hopefully, everybody knows what Elmo is. Anybody that's not Ray or Greg that knows what, and Godwin that knows what an Elmo. What is an Elmo?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
How do you use the Elmo without it sounding rude?
That's a very good point. First, let's define what Elmo is. Who could tell me what Elmo is, and then we'll answer that question. What is Elmo?
It's on the screen. Why are you off the screen?
It's on the screen, guys.
Enough, let's move on.
All right, awesome. That's what I'm talking about. Okay, so very good question. Like she said, well, how can you do it without being offensive, right? Because this right now might be something that's uncomfortable. That's why that working agreement what Ray just mentioned is really cool because we say this is how we're going to operate. And one of the things is we're not going to take it personal when somebody says Elmo because they feel that topic is already being, addressed, taking too long to move forward. So what I have to do, and I know this is not the complete answer, I actually have people sign. So here you have a working agreement, and I have them come up to the board and sign that you're going to live up to this working agreement. So the cool thing about Elmo is it's not me saying, hey, there's a problem. This is something we agreed on. We said we were going to do this exercise and we were going to make sure we hold each other accountable. But I can still tell you that there's going to be uncomfortable feelings, right? And that's why maybe the right way to do it is for us as leaders to do it first. So, for example, Ray, you should be yelling Elmo right now to me. There you go. See Saba hitting me right now? See how she's laughing too? She's enjoying this. I can see it in her face. She's enjoying throwing Elmo at me. But that way, she knows I accept it. Thank you, Saba. Yes, we'll go on to the next topic. Does that help?
She didn't say it though. What did she do to let you know?
So she's on a video camera right now, and she just has a beautiful little Elmo that she has. And
Okay, cool.
And she should have my name on it because she uses it to me often. So thank you, Saba. Take her video off. Somebody remove Saba's video already.
Never.
All right. So anybody else anything that we miss in this housekeeping? Can somebody put in the chat if we missed something you think Ray and I messed up on? What could we have added to this housekeeping?
I don't know. I mean, you put the room set up already and safety. I wanted to say, how do you allow people go to bathrooms when they want to?
Yeah, we don't
Stuff
allow
like that.
bathroom. We don't allow bathroom breaks. So that was our working agreement. You can't go to the bathroom. Yeah.
You're stuck
So
in here.
so we've learned from our experience of doing things is that every hour, no matter what, you should pause.
Okay.
And even though we get excited to talk, especially me, I gotta learn how to stop. I gotta learn how to stop. Okay.
And somebody created a sticky.
Yeah. We
Just
put
like
them,
there was an Elmo and a coffee break. Somebody had a bathroom sticky that they had the opportunity to raise up, but what happened was they would say, Godwin, can we stop in the next 5 minutes so that we can have a bathroom break, please?
but
Nice.
remember, it was also about setting expectations. So we put agenda to say we were going to be breaking at these times. So that way you can hold yourself a little bit, Godwin. Okay, you know it's going to happen in the next few minutes. Okay. All right. Awesome. Let's go to the next stuff. Did anybody put anything in the chat, Ray? What came out of that? Anything?
I didn't see anything, no, sir.
Hey,
All
Rick,
right. So yes.
quick question. So assume you said there were two different groups. Did everybody know each other? How did you handle the introductions?
So what icebreaker? I know. Did we do any other icebreaker? I'm trying to remember if we did some. Didn't we do
Yes.
the rock paper
Rock,
scissors?
paper, scissors.
Yes. So we got a great way for them to actually get to know each other. It's called rock paper scissors. Maybe you've heard it, right? So it's a game that you play, but this is the way we did it. They had to introduce each other before they played the game. So the way that game works, and I think we do a good job. Whoever loses has to actually sit down and help the person that beat you and motivate them and start cheering them on. So it was a really nice icebreaker. And then they would compete against each other until you get the final two. And then you have one group yelling for one person because they lost, right? And one group yelling for the other one. And then so that was a nice little starter block for that. But we did have somebody introduce because we weren't the owners of the meeting in a sense, right? You had a person that was responsible for it. She made a high level introduction to say, hey, these are the different groups, these are the people that are coming in. But good catch, Greg. Don't do that again. Good catch. All right. Awesome. Anyone else? Can we move on? Yes. All right, moving on. So let's keep going. Um, so again, it's a nonprofit. This is stuff that we actually put in the success and challenges. So think about that as kind of a retro. Um, so these were some of the ones that they came up with. But a retro is run, guys. It's just to get feedback and hopefully we have a mitigation plan of what we're going to be working through. So any questions? Go ahead.
And as these were presented, there were people who were saying, hey, you forgot this one. Hey, you forgot this one. So
Yeah.
This is what we started with, not necessarily what we ended.
Yep. So again, we create a very interactive sessions where we allow people to work through and have conversations, and hopefully, I think they enjoyed it. They gave us a good evaluation. All right. So we also like to run a values back to Greg's question, kind of combining and get them united. This is our best way to unite them. So has anybody ever ran a values exercise? And what does that mean, right? What is a values exercise? Has anybody want to put it on the chat, or anybody want to unmute themselves if they've ran something like that?
Hint, Scrum values, team values, Scrum values. Hint.
Yeah. Ray's giving too many hints out. We got to stop him. So Ray, talk to me about this value exercise. How does this work? And I don't know if we have another slide on that. Yeah, I think it's here, right?
It's right here. Yep.
So
What we asked the people, because as Rick mentioned before, we knew that they had difficulty working with each other. So we asked them very simply, think of the teams that you've been on. What made you excited about working with this group? What didn't make you too excited about working with this group? And for this group here that you're going to be working with from this point forward, what should be the values, the values that we use in this team? And somebody quickly, I think, said something like honesty. And we said, okay, please go to the chart and please place all your stickies. And that's what they did. And then you go through the normal combining. This one is like this one is like this one, with the help of the people in the group, until they came up with, I think it was 5, because you don't want 17 team values. It's kind of hard to live with 17 team values. So we were going for 3 to 5, and there's a picture of the chart at the end.
So any questions to Ray related to this exercise? Give him some tough things. Come on, guys. Don't make it
I have a
easy on
question.
Ray. Go ahead, Godwin.
So what did you discover, especially? I'm looking at, I see low, and is that kindness? Love and kindness?
Love and kindness. Yeah.
Yes.
Love.
Then I see shared accountability and excellence. So what kind of, which one echoed more in people that you kind of find out?
Which one, you mean which one was kind of predominant again
Yes,
across all the
yes.
thinking?
Yes, yes.
There was a few. The love and, I wish I could read that. Godwin, do you know what that says? Love and something?
Love and kindness. Love and
Kindness.
Love
kindness.
and kindness. Remember the history that Rick told you about.
Yes.
Excellence. Remember that these are books that children read so that they have the skill level when they start school, that they can be competitive.
Yeah.
So they wanted their product to demonstrate excellence, so that the success rate of every child that participated would be extremely high. So that was important for them. There was 1 or 2 other ones. I can't remember them. Those 2 just stand out because of the importance of the product they're producing and the importance of how they have to work together. Those are the 2 that stood out to me.
So guys, just remember that the whole intentions of this is just to get alignment. You're getting people who have never worked together to agree on something. The more you start agreeing on something, now you're improving the relationships. You're getting that connection. Now they're starting to own that, right? They're starting to own that. So I think one of the things we didn't do, Ray, and correct me if I'm wrong, we never got them to put a team name, right?
A what? A team name?
A team name.
No, I don't recall them having to do a team name. And
So
there is
that's-
something else that happened, Rick, that you can't see from that chart, but you'll see it when you get to the working agreement. I'll remind you what happened.
Okay. So that's probably something we could have improved to actually create a team name. Again, we're doing this for the purpose of kind of getting them to gel. You are now one team. I don't care what company you represent over here. I don't care what company you represent over here. There was 3 companies being represented. How do we get them to feel like they're part of one team?
Oh,
And that was by actually naming them, right? That would have been good. Ray, you were saying?
and there were 2 companies who were competing for a contract.
Yeah, that was awkward. How do you invite 2 companies into a session that they could be competing against each other? Very uncomfortable. All right, so let's move forward. I don't see any questions, Ray, so you're tracking the chat. If there's any questions.
No questions.
But again, very strong exercise when you're launching a team. So then we got to what, Ray? The beautiful vision.
We got to the first step in that value stream canvas, which was a collective vision for all the group, for all the different teams and people. So we wanted them to collaborate on what they thought was the vision of this entire group of people. And we said, look, focus on things that differentiate you. Focus on how you're going to solve this problem. Focus on something that will guide you long term, your North Star. and you can't see it here, but what they did was they themselves got together and they did a little brainstorming exercise where they started to say, hey, how are we different than other people who may provide books to children? Or how are we different than if you go to a library and there's somebody reading up front? They started to think about what is our solution? They had already been in business, so they had a foundation to work from. They knew they had books and they knew they had instruction material. So they were thinking in terms of, based on that, what should our solution be? And they just started with that. And some of them, but there was 2 or 3 people at one table, which decomposed the vision, and they started to think of the vision as, who's my target audience? What's the opportunity, the problem I'm trying to solve? What should we call ourselves? Rick mentioned before something about a team name.
Yeah.
Do we, what's going to be the name of the product?
Mm-hmm.
When people are out there, what are they going to see on the poster? Benefits, reason to want to be part of this program. Just because someone's offering you a book doesn't mean that you're really excited about getting it. Why do I need a book? I can go to the library and get a book. What's so special about you? Going back to differentiate us. Talk about a little bit about their competition. So if somebody said, why should I participate? They had some ideas. And then they broke down their vision statement, not using that format, but they broke it down into, I think, about 3 or 4 sentences, one little paragraph that they could run off, regardless of who it was, in 30 seconds or less. So what's the children's trust book? They had their little vision statement ready to say.
Awesome. So thank you, Ray, for sharing that. So I want to again open it up to the team here. Has anybody had a chance to facilitate a vision exercise? And tell us a little bit about how it went. We're curious. Is this even work? Is this too overwhelming to do a workshop? How long is this workshop? Like, Ray, I'm curious, how long did it actually take for them to actually do a vision statement? Do you remember time boxing that?
Yeah. We thought it was going to take them an hour, and they used 2 hours.
2 hours
to decide.
So back to the group here. Has anybody had a chance to facilitate a vision workshop where you come up with a vision statement? Okay. Anybody in the chat, guys?
No, I'm looking, not yet.
Okay, guys. So if you haven't, Ray just opened the door of how he did that. So hopefully that's valuable for you, and you kind of look at the ins and outs of that and how you would break out. So think about it. You've got 25 people there. You can't have them all working on the vision statement. How do you break them out? How do you say you've got, like, maybe you break them down into several teams and you say you work out with a vision statement and then you combine each other, right? We broke them into 3. Thank you, Ray. See, Ray has a good memory. That's why Ray compliments me. He's got that memory where I'm old. I think it was all like 50 teams out. So breaking them out, letting them do it within them, and then saying, okay, let's share and let's get the best of all worlds, right? So the facilitation of it is just as important. So hopefully you guys get to do this and maybe share it back with us. Okay. So I'm not hearing anything. Go ahead, Ray.
So as you guys think, and the really nice thing, Rick, was one of the 3 teams came up with a pretty impressive one, but it wasn't perfect. And as they were listening to the other 2 teams, they took pieces of the other ones to put it in theirs, because the other 2 teams said, no, we want to go with yours. And they added some, so it became the product of everyone.
And I want to add some background to this too. In the nonprofit world, there are heavy requirement documents. yes, traditional requirement documents that you might not want to hear about, but that they're so they had a legit of some of the bigger things that they wanted to do, right? A lot of this was captured from some of that information. Then they came up with the vision statement. Because imagine coming out with a vision statement and not really understanding what are the big things you're trying to do. Like, does the vision come first, or does the high level requirements come first that kind of brings back? Like, I could see, Ray, you coming up with a vision statement. And as you're diving deeper into understanding what you're going to do, you might revisit that vision statement and say, is this truly reflecting to what we're really wanting to do at the highest level, right? That could be. Now, I see a hand up. Alfredo, you there?
Yes, Alfredo.
Yeah. Yeah, we sort of did that recently, but we started with three things and we wanted to look for the overlap point. What can you do? What can you implement? What benefits can you provide? And what can you be passionate about? So we kind of went in, brainstormed, what can you do? What can you implement within a given time frame, 3 months, 6 months, whatever reasonable time frame? What benefits can you provide that you think they're beneficial, you think people would want? And then what can you be passionate about? And we figured if you intersect passion with something people like, with something you can do, then that was a starting point. But I underestimated the time. It went over way 2 hours. I mean, there's just no way. Especially it's 2 hours.
You should have seen. You should have, Alfredo. You should have seen Rick looking at me. You gonna finish?
Exactly. I'm like, how long? Wait a minute.
How long is it gonna take?
We budgeted for this time. I was looking at him. I was like, wait a minute, Ray. We budgeted for this time, and you're now at 2 hours here. What do we need? We need to move now. Well, you remember that look, Ray? You remember that look?
I remember. I remember the look of panic.
That was pretty much.
And in true Agile fashion, we at the end of the session we needed to drop something out because
we did. Yeah.
Time. It's a time box. It's a 2-day time box. So we had to drop something out. So we replaced it with something lightweight that they could do on their own. Andrea asks, so what's the difference between a vision and a mission statement?
Whoa. Who wants to help us with that? What's the difference between a vision and a mission?
So, my understanding has always been the mission is about what the company or organization does, whereas the vision is sort of kind of a future state of where they want to be.
Where they want to go versus maybe a little bit about how they're going to do it. Greg, is that what you're saying?
Right.
Okay.
All right.
Somebody wrote vision, what you see for the company. Mission is how you're going to bring that vision to life. Katharina?
For me, it's the company's objectives and how they plan to reach or attain those objectives, and why the vision is what they are thinking about in the future, just like what.
So that's that small difference. We got to pick it up because it's 7 o'clock and I think we have about 15, 20 minutes.
That's okay. Remember, we don't need to come up with all the stuff. We're going through the slides.
Okay.
All right. So it's not like a rush to get through. So we're good with this. All right. Awesome. And that's another thing to tell the people you work with. So when you're doing a workshop, don't ever say, "Hey, hurry up, pick it up because we're late behind." Because they're gonna think, "Oh my God, we're not doing as well as we should be doing."
That's why Rick was telling me in private, "I'm going to kill you." In private.
Pretty much, but it was in private.
It was in private.
All right. So what do we have here? So this was the goal and objective. So that was another thing that we wanted to do. We wanted to have clear, measurable goals and objectives. Okay. And we wanted to use the SMART format so that we can get quantifiable, real, results, right? So I don't know. Do you remember this exercise, Ray, or were you able to implement this? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah. So what they did was they came up, they brainstormed some of the stuff that they had discussed during the vision statement. They suggested as goals, and then with the help of the CIO, they came up with timeframes. Something else also happened. Some of the goals did not meet the vision statement. Excuse me. Some of the goals were not in alignment with the vision statement. So the CIO said that is not part of our vision. So we're either modifying the vision, or we're going to put this maybe in the parking lot, but it's not going to be part of our goals and objective for this particular team as part of our deliverables. It's basically how it went. They came up, I think they came up, Rick, with somewhere between 8 to 10, but they were broken up between, this is what we're going to do over the next, I think it was 6 to 9 months, then 12 months to 15 months, and beyond 2 years. So they kind of broke them up that way, and then they said they would refine it as they went.
All right. So do we have any questions on objectives, smart objectives instead of dumb objectives? Any questions? So again, it's easier said than done. If you've ever tried to get an executive or a leader to put things in this format, or to actually think about specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and testable, they struggle sometimes. They struggle. Okay, awesome. Moving forward. So what do we got here? So this is our high level. So again, we're moving through the stages here. We got the vision, we got the objectives. Now we're looking at high level requirements, right? And again, trying to follow the smart, format. But these are some of the criteria. So I
Right.
guess this is the format for it, right?
This was a format, and again, it was another exercise. And some people came prepared because some people already had requirements that they wanted to introduce, if you will, to the CIO and the team. But they basically for the two shorter timeframes, like I mentioned, like quote, this year and for next year, they came up with things that they felt they had to do to satisfy those goals, those objectives that they set for themselves. So they basically came up with a list grouped by, this is for the shorter time frame, this is for the longer time frame, and that was the foundation for, again, future refinement conversations as they come back and they.
So Ray, when you were saying that, I was thinking it is a good idea to have people come up with these things prior to coming in sometimes, because even though we want them to learn and do it there's a lot of people that need to have time to think through this. Like, what is it that I think we need? What is it that I think that's important? And at least writing it down somewhere else and then coming in with it so that you can have more discussions, especially introverts or people that don't feel comfortable just thinking on the fly and trying to get something up. I think it really helps. So maybe we need to follow that same step. All right. Are we good with this?
Comments, anything before we move on? Okay. The next one should look very familiar to them, right, Rick?
Woohoo! Yes. Who's had an opportunity to prioritize stuff? What tool do you use to prioritize your work? Put it in the chat. I want to hear it. And don't tell me it's just your wife, whatever she says. As
That's home prioritization.
Yes. I want to know an actual method. What method do you use to prioritize?
Moscow. Somebody said Moscow.
Yeah, because they're reading the paper, they're reading the PowerPoint. What
That's
else
okay.
is out there? What else is out there? That's a start.
That's a start. So Andrea mentioned the product backlog, but Andrea, how do you order the list with the most important stuff at the top? And then Saba said, must, need, and want.
Okay, so she's in the Moscow, but is there any other prioritizing mechanism that you use?
Saba said MVP. Remember, Saba, that only works for the first release because each application only has one MVP. Alfredo said de-risk projects, values, and things. Omar said client feedback. Alfredo said sometimes it's only the things that you can control.
Interesting.
It's an interesting concept.
So weighted shortest job first. Has anybody heard that? And I think some of you guys took some safe classes. I don't know what's going on here. We're gonna have to take back your certification. So if you have any safe or whatever certification, we're snatching that
Right.
back.
All right, L. L
There
threw
you
it
go.
in at the last moment there. Nice
There you
job. High, low, severity, and priority charts.
All right. So again, you need it, and some companies have a whole format. They have like these different criterias, and this is how many points you get for this. This is how many points you get, and then this is the formula, and then this is a there's a whole process that people follow in different companies. You should know what is it that's being done in your company.
Has
Right.
anybody ever used Monopoly money?
There you go. That's a good one.
You give the people Monopoly money and you say, here, spend it however you want, but you can't spend more than what you have in your hand.
There you go. And then whichever one has the most money, there you go. But remember, there's two prioritizations you have to think of. There's I'm going to prioritize things in value, which is great, but then you have to understand, well, what's the effort, right? So if I've got something that is going to make us $1 million, but it's going to take 20 years to do, compared to something that's going to make us $500,000 and it's going to take 1 week to do. Which one would you prioritize? The 5-year one? All right. So I think we're good. Anybody? So Moscow. Who wants to show us what Moscow is? Is anybody else instead of Ray that has worked with Moscow? Has anybody been to Moscow? How about that?
Moscow.
Godwin, you been to Moscow?
No, I know Moscow must have.
So how do you do this exercise? Teach us, Godwin. Teach us. How do you do this exercise?
I think you kind of create the most important things, the most wanted ones that the team needs, which is the priority, which one comes first, and which one do you want to put in the back burner? Which one is a need and which one is a want? Which one do we need now? Which one do we need in the next couple of months? Or which one do we need in the next couple of years? So you start voting on that. That's exactly how I use Moscow.
Cool.
Yeah.
Does anybody else use Moscow a little different?
Has anyone done a Moscow and a Moscow for the things that appear at the top? So in English now.
The must-have should have what you could, even if you need it.
And then you make them do it again.
Again, yes.
You take all the ones that must have. Really? Okay. Now here's all your must-haves. Now put them again for the must-haves. Which ones do you really need? Which of the musts should you have, and which of the musts can wait to the end? And then order them. Because remember, if you get like 10 or 15 must-haves, you still got to put them in some kind of an order.
Yeah. It's a great conversation piece, right? Because now you can visualize that, and then you can talk through that. Why do you feel yours is more? That way it's not one person in a silo making decisions. It's visible for everyone to kind of have a conversation behind it. Okay. So again, an interesting tool. Practice it. I still want to hear more that people are actually testing some of these things out. So I'm going to challenge you to go into these things and learn how they work. All right. So can we move? All right. I'm going to move on. Questions, vision statement, activities. Do you have any fun activities to help people get through this task? What was this about?
This was different approaches for arriving at a vision statement. I think Greg gave us some insight.
Yes. All right. So It's important that we understand their value stream. Okay. So think about value stream as in their software development lifecycle, the difference, how work comes into the pipeline, and whose hands does it touch, and what's the roles and responsibilities of each of the sections as you move through it. What explicit policies are in each. If you guys remember Kanban, I don't know who's our Kanban people out there. Some of you hopefully took some Kanban classes and remember what explicit policy, Andrea, but she's probably busy right now. She can't hear me, but that's okay. So understand that things follow a process, and there's explicit policy that says to be done in this process, you need to follow these rules. To be done in here, you got to follow this. Okay, kind of giving you guidelines. So it's important to understand the value to cash overall from where it starts to where it ends. Okay, so mapping that out is important. Has anybody ever mapped out your current process that you follow for software development or for anything related to the overall process flow?
I've done process flows for development, and I've done for manufacturing, and we've separated. And I've outlined things that are truly valuable and things that are necessary and things that are inflection points. So, yeah, I mean,
That's pretty cool.
A simple flow chart's great. Where are your decision points? Where are your information? Where do you need information? And why do you need information, right? And where do you do a handoff? Why does somebody have, is it a manager, somebody signing off? Why does that person have to sign off? Are we inspecting something by somebody else, or can we inspect it ourselves if we're doing software development? How can we incorporate that?
I love that. I love that. So Ray, anything that I missed with
on this one, it was particularly interesting and fun because Rick said that this group was coming together. Some of them knew of each other, but they didn't really know everything that everybody did. So when Rick was asking the question about what triggers this process, somebody said something, and I don't remember exactly what it said. And somebody else raised their hand and said, no, it's when we get an idea for a book. That's what triggers the process. And it was like, oh, I didn't realize that. And they started to understand what the other people's work and contributions were. So what they did was they mapped out their end-to-end steps. Then they went to the front, and then they mapped it from the beginning to the end. And then some of them started to realize that part of their process was over there. You can't see where I'm pointing, but it was over there. And some of their process was over here. And then they had a full appreciation of how it all went and how it was connected. And then they started to identify the dependencies while doing that as well. Oh, I need this from you, Rick. Oh, I need this from Andrea. Oh, or Andrea, I send you this. Is it important to you? And in one or two cases, I think it wasn't as important for me to share that. When you finish your deliverable, I will find out about it, and that's good enough. You don't need to do anything special. But I think for the most part, most people needed information from other teams. And that was the moment that they started to realize those dependencies, those interconnections, those communications that weren't happening.
Very good point. So really, it's 7:13. We just wanted you to get a flavor of what we were doing, because we actually are going to be doing this for the same company, and we're going to need volunteers. So if you're interested in helping us in this journey, if you're in South Florida, you could actually attend, which is pretty cool, right? So we're probably going to have maybe 3 people attend with us. and kind of help out. But anybody else can volunteer. We're going to map this all out. We're going to create a package for them, and we're going to have it to the detailed level. Well, how many stickies we bring in, who's going to do this, who's going to present this, and the notes of how we're going to execute this. Kind of package that out properly, because we like to leave the nonprofit with that as well. We like to say, look, we helped you out and we want the best for you here. Use this for the rest of your projects or so, right?
So,
So, yes,
Rick, I have a question on that.
go for it, Godwin.
I have a bunch of people here who some of them haven't really they are trying to get their first job as Scrum Masters. So some of them I intentionally invited them here to see this and to see if they would be interested to see if they could raise their hands up for it. So what that means is can they actually do it remotely since they're not most of them some I'm not sure if any of them is in South Florida.
So, absolutely. The work that's needed right now is a lot of preparation work. It's a lot of fine tuning. We want to make this, you see how it's still a little sloppy? Like the PowerPoints have to be of high demand. The way we execute it, they could practice some of these things online to see how they come out. So there's just a lot of work to make this done well. But so, like I told you, we need two volunteers. The volunteers that are here locally in South Florida to be on site and actually execute the stuff, and then the people that are going to create the work that we need to do to make that done. I don't think I'm going to be able to have people remotely help us unless we get some remote participants that are not going to be able to be there. We're going to need somebody to help with the remote session, right?
Okay.
That's so, but it's still massively important for us to get this together, and we have to do it in an agile way. What is the MVP? How do we get the first step? Well, what's the backlog? How do we move forward on this? All of this. The cool thing about this is that everything we're doing here is agile. So you're creating a workshop that has the launching capabilities of what we do when we launch a team, an agile team. Does that help,
Cool.
Godwin?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
All right. So again, keep in mind if you're interested, let us know so that we can put you in there for that. One of the things I want to do right now, just to take a quick pause, is I would like to take a picture. So I know some of you again are remote. So if you could turn on your video camera just to show me you're out there. Saba, I know you had your Elmo there. I don't know if you're still there with me, but there you are. Oh my God, that Elmo. um, again, the idea is that we're sharing, we keep sharing for the community. This is what we do. And I hope you learned something from today's session. This is all recorded, so you can play back, maybe even play it in reverse and make fun of us or something, whatever. Maybe it may even make sense, more sense, playing it in reverse, right? Um, but we thank you for, oh, Marcella's there. How you doing, Marcella?
Seba,
Oh
was
my
that for
God.
me?
What's that?
Was that for me? I
Oh, the
love you
love?
too.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So again, we need a gesture, whatever gesture you want to put to give out, and we're going to go ahead and put that in LinkedIn and share it with the world. So please turn on your camera. Thank you.